Alright, let's rock and roll and talk about Deathgasm. This is a Patreon request for Nate Malice. Thank you so much for donating, and thank you so much for recommending that I watch this again. I can't believe I haven't seen it more than once. This is my kind of movie. I saw it when it first came out back in 2015, and I just kind of forgot about it, forgot how much I liked it, and now I want to freaking buy it and add it to my collection. It's on Amazon, and I think it's on Tubi. But if you have Amazon or Tubi, you can watch it for free. Highly recommend it. It's worth it. It's worth buying. So yeah, that's my rating for this movie. Spoiler, it's fucking fantastic. I loved it. This movie is so entertaining. What's it about? This movie's about two teenage boys who unwittingly summon an ancient evil entity known as the Blind One by delving into black magic while trying to escape their mundane lives. So let's start with the positives. All the things that I liked about this movie is I like the opening credits, all the animation, and it looks really cool, and it's a good tone setter, and I like the stylized editing of the film. There's moments where it feels like a music video. It's just got such a stylized editing. There's even sequences within the movie that are edited to like fit the music that they're playing, like the metal soundtrack to the film. It like goes with it. They use a lot of heavy metal songs in the movie, so if you like heavy metal, I think you'll really enjoy this movie for that alone. It has plenty of heavy metal songs playing throughout that actually really fit the scenes and just work to the film's benefit. I'm not even a heavy metal guy, but I was digging the soundtrack of this film, and I really just enjoy the humor overall, the black comedy, the sexual humor, the dialogue. It's hilarious. From beginning to end, I was cracking up and just having a good time. It's very quick. It's not that long of a movie. It's like 85 minutes, so it's not that long. Really good pace, lots of good humor. All of them landed for me, basically. There's not anything that was like cringy. It's just my kind of humor. It's over the top, the violence, very over the top. It's very gory, all practicals for the most part. There's some CGI, like blood and stuff, and some visual effects in the last like 5-10 minutes, but you couldn't do that stuff practically. But all the gore, the kills, all that stuff for the most part was practical, creative, inventive, just something that you would see in like Sam Raimi's Evil Dead movies. It's just tons of blood spraying everywhere, people puking blood all over the place. It is just so graphic, this movie. Chainsaws, just all kinds of stuff. It's fucking phenomenal. I also like the main character. I thought he was sympathetic. I liked his acting. I thought the acting across the board was pretty good. So hardly any complaints here. If I had to complain about anything, I would say the fact that they used CGI in moments when they didn't really need to. There was moments where there was even CGI blood, which confused me. Like, they're using so much practical blood in this movie, but then there was like little moments where they would have CGI blood come out of people's like, stab wounds, and I'm like, why is that there? You could have done that practically. So I'm just not a fan of the CGI blood, some of the CGI shots in the movie. I feel like the last like 5 minutes or so towards the very end could have been done better. I wasn't really crazy about how things went down towards the end. And the geeky friends, they don't really focus on them enough. I wish there was a little bit more of the two geeky friends in their band. They just kind of feel like fodder by the end of it. So I wish there would have been more of a focus on them, give them a little bit more screen time. They mainly focus on the main character and his friend Zach, and then there's like a love triangle going on between him and the girl that he ends up being with. I forget her name, but yeah. Some people might not like that this is more comedy than horror, but I think there's plenty of horror in here. It feels like an Evil Dead movie. There's zombies walking around. They look like zombies, or at least they act violent, kind of like zombies would, trying to like eat you. They can tear you apart. They're very strong. They have missing eyes. So like, it has horror in it, but some people might not like that it's way more comedy than horror. It's not really balanced. It's more on the comedy side, but I like that. I don't mind if a comedy horror movie is more comedy than horror, as long as the comedy is landing and works for me, and this one did. So final thoughts, this movie was a freaking blast. It's very ultra gory and bloody. It's my kind of movie. If you like splatter films, if you like the Evil Dead movies, or even Dead Alive, this is your kind of movie. Especially if you like metal music. It's a kick-ass film, very fast-paced, very enjoyable, and highly rewatchable. So when it comes to Deathgasm, can't recommend it highly enough. Go out and buy it. Alright, time for the spoiler discussion. It's not much to spoil, story-wise, but I'm going to mainly talk about all the gruesome scenes in the movie. But I do love that there's this scene where it kind of turns into like a music video. This guy's like daydreaming of him playing guitar on like a mountaintop, and he like shoots lasers out of his eyes and like pops this top off of a girl. So there's plenty of nudity in the film too. I didn't talk about that, but that scene just cracked me up right there. So then, they go looking for this famous rock star, Ricky Daggers. And he's just living in this old, dilapidated, Evil Dead-looking cabin, just out in the middle of nowhere. They find him. He's got this, record and some sheet music, and they take that from him, and they go and they play it, and that's what summons all the evil. And we get this very graphic throat slit. Ricky Daggers gets his throat slit wide open, and it looks pretty gnarly. And I like how this guy gets his head chopped off, and the leader of this group, or whatever group it is, I forget, some kind of cult, they want this hymn, this black hymn. He gets his head chopped off, and the guy's like, put it back on and chop it off again. And that's what they do. They start putting this guy's severed head back on his body so they can chop it off again properly, like the way he wants it. And then the name of one of their songs is called Intestinal Bungee Jump. That's an interesting name. And could you imagine if they did that? That would have been awesome if somebody was bungee jumping with an intestine. So yeah, they play the black hymn, and every time they play it, it makes like all the adults, it seems, in town to go crazy, and they're like puking and vomiting blood all over the place. And even one of the teachers the next day starts shitting blood like a fountain out of his ass during class. That was pretty funny. And so this chick, what year is it in this movie? I thought it was modern day. This chick's still walking around with like a CD player, those big old CD players that you used to have way back in the day. I used to have them back in like elementary school, but I thought she would have had like an iPod or an iPhone that she would have been listening to, but she has a portable CD player that she's using in 2015. This guy, Zach, in the movie is a complete asshole. I don't know how to feel about him because I think he's hilarious and very entertaining, but at the same time, he's a jackass. He's trying to steal his friend's girlfriend, and for some reason, she believes him when he shows up and says that he's not interested, and she starts kissing him. Like, how much did she drink? Like, I didn't see any connection between them, but she starts making out with him. I call bullshit. But yeah, that's the most unbelievable scene in the whole movie. I could buy everything else happening, but her kissing that guy, absolutely not. But another thing that makes him a dick is he's siphoning gas from an ambulance. And when you see that montage of everybody puking, all the adults, you see like a crib or like a stroller going by, and there's like puke coming out of it, so there's like a baby in there vomiting also. That was pretty funny. So Zach, when he kills his dad by dropping an engine, a car engine, on his head, squishing it like a melon into itty bitty pieces, awesome effect. He says, "I think that's how my dad would want to go out." Oh my gosh. And I love when they get like the information about like, how to stop this thing and what time they have. They say like you got to do it by 3 a.m. I love that the guy goes, Pacific, Eastern, like, does this evil know about daylight savings? I love that. Like, that's the kind of question that Billy from Gremlins should have been asking the guy selling him the Mogwai. Then this guy gets stabbed down his throat by this chick that was blowing him earlier, and she's like, now who has a bad gag reflex, as she's deep throating him with the dagger down his throat. And so this like overly religious aunt and uncle, we find out that they have the world's largest black dildo in their drawer. And so he and his friend Zach start beating his aunt and uncle to death with big black dildos and anal beads. It's hilarious. Oh my gosh. And like somehow manages to like knock this guy's jaw off with the big black dildo. And then even another guy gets a chainsaw up his ass. And I like that this guy has to pull the choke like a dozen times to get it to work. It's not like in the Texas Chainsaw movies where Leatherface can just pull it once and it works right away. In real life, it's kind of hard to get it going, especially the first time you start one. So I like how realistic that is. So yeah, then the aunt, she gets the chainsaw in her gut and all her intestines are just pouring out. And then he like stabs her in the head also with like dildos, I think. Like he stabs her right in the head, both sides of the temple with dildos, and there's some CGI blood, I think, in that moment where I don't understand why there was CGI there. And I love that his bully of a cousin comes home and he takes the chainsaw instantly without thinking. As soon as he sees him, he just grabs the chainsaw and chainsaws his head off from like the midpoint, like halfway off. Awesome. And his friend Zach's like, I don't think he was possessed. And he's like, no, of course he was. Remember, he came in, he says something about Satan. He just murdered his bully of a cousin and justified it by saying that he was possessed. But he was not, clearly. I love that both of his friends get murdered. Do you think that maybe they're all going to make it because they're the main characters, you know, his band? You think maybe they're all going to get out of it? Nope. His two friends get butchered very graphically. The one friend gets his head ripped off, like in Predator, his whole spine comes out with the head. And the other friend gets his arm ripped off. I thought he was going to have both arms ripped off because they're pulling on both ends, but just the one arm comes off, and I think they start like beating him with his own arm. Or maybe I'm remembering a different movie. I watched this the other day. I don't review right after I watch the movie. I kind of sit on it and wait a day or so before I record, but I think they beat him to death with his own arm after that, right? Or maybe they just ripped his arm off. Whatever. So yeah, then his friend Zach becomes a demon, this whatever it's called. It had a name, started with an A. I don't remember. Alon something. And yeah, there's all kinds of static electricity effects being done here, and he turns into the demon. He has the big like rubber head on with the big old horns. I didn't really care for the look of that. It could have been more badass if you ask me. It just seemed cheesy, but I guess that kind of goes with the whole tone of the movie. It's very silly. But I don't know, I just feel like he got taken out pretty quickly. Like he starts playing the song backwards or something, when I think he just plays a different song. And the guy just starts like, he's fighting the evil from within, and he's pushing the evil off. He's like, you gotta kill me before it comes back and takes over me again. And he gets his throat slit, so now his friend's dead, and he killed the evil with him. And then it flashes forward a couple months later, and his friend's spirit is living in one of his records, fucking with him. I thought that was kind of funny. It's kind of like a misdirection. You think like the evil is actually coming back, and you know it's not over, but it's actually just his friend Zach coming back, just playing with him, being his typical self. And so yeah, this movie had narration in the first act, and then it kind of just went away, didn't it? I didn't hear it anymore. This whole movie is being told like a story in the beginning. You know, like, hi, my name is whatever, and this is my neighbor. And the guy's like narrating the story, and then this is what happened. And then it just kind of went away, and it never came back. So I was like, you think at the end he would be like, and that's the story, and then like there would be more narration, but it kind of just disappeared. So I thought that was kind of odd. But yeah, and then there's like a post-credit scene where he's still talking to Zach's spirit in his record. He's like, what's hell like? He's like, oh, it's great. You know, I'm down here with Paul McCartney, and I don't think Paul McCartney's dead, is he? I don't think he is. I didn't look it up. And those are my thoughts on Deathgasm. Let me know what you thought about this horror comedy in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.